We'll talk about mobile system security. Mobile devices are proliferating at an incredible rate. They're the fastest growing consumer technology out there because users are looking for things that are portable. I want to be able to have everything in my hand. I want universal access to data and applications. Combine that with the fact that computing power is getting smaller, power requirements are getting more power efficient, and we have this always connected landscape that we've got now with mobile internet connections. Laptops and tablets, cellular phones, smartphones, wireless technologies, all of these things are kind of lumped into this rubric of mobile systems, and they introduce their own security challenges as a result. Just a quick review of cellular technologies. Probably half the audience out there won't recognize this device. Yes, this is a cell phone. If you look at any mid-'80s TV show, you'll probably see people with these large bricks to the side of their head. Yep, back in the day, that was the cell phone. But this is first generation, circa early 1980s technology. 2G phones came around early 90s. These were digital. We started moving away from analog phones into digital phones. We started seeing SMS messages, text messages being able to be sent for the first time. And you had two competing standards, CDMA, Code Division Multiple Access, which was generally adopted in the US, and then you had GSM, Global System for Mobile, which was adopted mostly in Europe and then started propagating from there. But that is second generation. Early 2000s, along comes 3G networks. You see a continuation of digital aspects of this, but you see increasing network speeds now. So as opposed to kilobits per second, we're talking megabits per second speeds. And we started to see the emergence of smartphones, Apple iPhone being a predominant one, start to emerge as well as people started looking at, hey, what can we do from our cell phone? Then you started seeing 4G devices. These are being done on packet switch networks because they're more efficient doing that. You see data rates theoretical in the 100 of megabit per second up to 1 gig. And you also see the emergence of LTE, long-term evolution. So you have 4G LTE and WiMAX technology that allows significantly higher data rates. And so you see a lot more devices now are blurring the lines between traditional laptop sitting on my desk and my smartphone, which does a lot of what I could do on my laptop anyway. Bluetooth, another wireless standard, generally for short-range purposes. It was meant as a wire replacement, so rather than having a USB cable connecting two devices, I can do that wirelessly over Bluetooth. Short range, less than 30 feet, plus or minus, and very low power. Of course, it has a lot lower data rate than you get with Wi-Fi, but generally it was meant for earpieces or keyboards or mice or something like that. Generally low data rate devices anyway. On the security side, you have to pair them to be able to communicate, or pair devices. So if you have a headset and you want to pair it with your the Bluetooth receiver in your car, you've got to go through a pairing process where the devices will recognize each other before they'll be able to start communicating. This is all dictated by the IEEE 802.15 standards, which defines wireless personal area networks. You can see the various frequencies and speeds there just for interesting reference. Additionally, Wi-Fi networks, which is governed by IEEE 802.11. These are much higher data rates than what you get with Bluetooth. They're usually longer distance, and you can see that there are various standards out there. Not all of them are compatible with each other, but all based on the 802.11 base standard you have 802.11a, b, g, n, and ac. And most of these wireless standards, I think now the de facto is either 802.11n or 802.11ac. You see AC being used a lot in media centers or as media bridges because it has such a high data rate compared to N or G or any of the previous standards that you can actually push high definition video through it. And so you see a lot of the media bridges out there using 802.11ac as their standard. For wireless networks, you can generally operate in two modes. There's infrastructure mode, traditional. I've got my laptop or my smartphone and I'm communicating with wireless access point. Everything goes back through that wireless access point or WAP. You can also operate in ad hoc mode. This is essentially peer-to-peer over Wi-Fi. So you don't need an access point. All you need is two peers who are communicating over Wi-Fi. All Wi-Fi generally, except for the peer-to-peer or ad hoc, uses what's called an SSID or service set identifier. And this is how laptops and other devices find the access point that you want to connect to. So when you pull up your list of Wi-Fi access points, you'll see a name in there. Well, that just doesn't magically appear in there. The wireless access point is actually broadcasting what's called a beacon frame that says, I'm this SSID. Here are my security considerations, either WEP or WPA or something like that. And if you want to connect to me, you're welcome to do so. You can actually disable the sending of this SSID. There's someone once said that this is a security function, disable the SSID and you'll have a secure network, wireless network. It's simply not true because attackers can simply sniff the various traffic that's out there and see those frames anyway. Even if you're not broadcasting it. As long as there's one person communicating on that wireless network, you can sniff that as an attacker and see what the SSID is. But generally, disabling the SSID keeps the riffraff out, and nothing much more than that. Various wireless encryption standards. There's WEP. This was one of the first versions. It was an original protocol of various encryption lengths. Unfortunately, it was found to be easily defeated a couple years after its implementation. So you don't usually see WEP anymore except on really old wireless devices, probably more than 5 years old. You'll see this. Some proprietary or embedded systems may still use WEP. But generally, if you see it, you shouldn't be using it because it's easily crackable. So after they found the weaknesses in WEP, up came WPA, or Wi-Fi Protected Access. It has a stronger encryption protection than WEP did. Unfortunately, it also was found to have weakness. WPA1 was. And so that encryption method kind of went by the wayside, and tried to improve it with Temporal Key Integrity Protocol, or TKIP. And so the idea that you could add this extra feature to it. Now you have each packet has a unique encryption key, so you have WPA encrypted by TKIP, so you've got two levels of encryption in there. And this didn't stick around too long either, because right about this time you had WPA2 come out. And WPA2 now seems to be the de facto standard for encryption on wireless networks. And it uses AES, one of the stronger encryption methods that are out there. Generally speaking, you're only going to find this on newer access points. So again, generally not anything really old, but most things just about everything you can buy today will support WPA2 right out of the box. And it is the only wireless encryption standard for government wireless networks as well. There are various wireless authentication protocols you should probably be aware of. Extensible Authentication Protocol, or EAP. This was an authentication protocol to do key exchange over WPA, WPA2. And it assumed that you had a protected communication channel, meaning the key exchange was done in the clear. So if anybody was sniffing the traffic over these WPA or WPA2 networks, meaning they had access to that network or they had access to the encryption key. They would be able to see that key exchange and be able to compromise that as well. So what they came up with was PEAP, or Protected Extensible Authentication Protocol. This was jointly developed by Cisco, Microsoft, and RSA, specifically designed to avoid or fix the fact that EAP was running over or assumed a protected channel. So now they encapsulated the EAP protocol inside a TLS tunnel. So now even if you were on the wireless access point and sniffing traffic, you wouldn't be able to see this or read this traffic because it was inside TLS. And the last one up there, Lightweight Extensible Authentication Protocol. This is a Cisco proprietary one. Don't see this too much anymore. But it was designed to force WEP key changes across access devices, wireless access devices.